Hi, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. And just like all those other people you've seen on the TV, I'm sitting behind a bookshelf. Yeah, to make myself look studious. Oh, they're all kids' books. Anyway, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. So I've been diving into these presentations about different subjects to do with inequality and online abuse and etc. And it's really been quite emotional and eye-opening to see individual people's views. And I think this is part of what I tried to do in that film that I'm going to release hopefully this year if everyone gives them their stuff. Can't even remember the name of it offhand now. And to hear those individual views really brings it home. And I don't know why these things aren't more on mainstream media or mainstream online media, because then maybe it would change some of these attitudes. But the problem is like I go on The Pursuit of Truth, is I don't think these things will really change, because the system that we live within and that everyone believes is the only system that we could possibly live within, of money and the way that we work and our existence and etc., and the way we see each other with divisions of countries and all these boxes that we put ourselves in, that often cause these problems, and we're trying to band-aid little bits, is not going to solve the problem. The real problem is the way that we live, the way that we see each other, divisions that we've created through time. And our ability really first is to acknowledge that, yes, the way that we live is not the best way. There may be some great bits about it, but there's a lot of it that doesn't really work, like the political side of things, like the idea of how, as human beings, because we want to, like as cavemen, want to possess and own, that we've decided to own bits of land and create power and people and leadership and all that kind of stuff, that's just there to massage people's egos, because it doesn't benefit humanity. That's the way our system should be. The way that we all should be living is we should only be doing things that benefit humanity. There's no reason for us to all be going to work, because you don't need that huge work power, energy, or that could be put to better use. Maybe that's a better way of doing it. We do need to do things, obviously. But there's a lot of what we do that doesn't actually benefit mankind. Like having many different manufacturers making the same kind of vehicle, but having it a different colour or putting a different insignia on it, or making hundreds of vacuum cleaners or washing powders or TVs or radios, or all the things that you go and buy. There's so much. The reason why is because of money and competition, and because we live our whole existence on money. And we have to get a job, and that's why it has all this competition, etc. But it's a waste of our energy. So to get back to what I was really wanting to talk about, is I saw these stories, these people telling their individual life stories, and there was this one person of colour in the system vernacular, who, because I don't believe in colour, because I believe it divides us. I believe we're all human beings, and that's what we should see each other. Yes, we are different in colours, but putting us in those boxes tends to cause it shouldn't be a box that we need to put ourselves in. We should see ourselves as human beings, and that's it. But it was interesting to hear his story of how his experience of life has had to go through all these sufferings, that how people treated him, how he didn't get the same advantages or same kind of choices as other people, just because of the colour of his skin, because of the negative way other people put their unconscious or subconscious, or whatever you want to call them, biases or straight down racism, and it just made me feel so sad. I don't know. I know I'm very empathetic to humans and suffering, also because, in the system vernacular, my son is mixed race, my twins, they're both mixed race, black, African and white in the system vernacular. I don't believe in calling them that. I believe them as human beings. But to think that he will have to go through that, because the system, I don't like the system, but unfortunately it's the system we're all stuck with at the moment until we acknowledge that there's a problem and make that change. And he's probably going to go through the same things. And I think that I never had to go through these things because in the world that we live in, if you're white and you live in, say, the UK, you don't get certain issues. There are issues, but different ones, but not the same extent that Aiden's going to have to go through, my my son may have to or experience these things. And it just made me feel so sad that we live like this. That, well, I mean, why do we not hate each other? Why do we have to have these negative things where we say these things that hurt people? I mean, I know it seems like naive or wishful thinking that all humans could love each other, but it just seems so unnecessary. And well, it is unnecessary, and it is preventable if we lived in a system that didn't teach each other about division and didn't, because remember, when we're born as children, we're blank slates. Yes, we may pick up some kind of genetic things, but a lot of it, what we learn, is from our parents and from our peers and from the schools and the media and etc. So all these bad things that we all pick up, they're learnt, they're not inherent, and so therefore they are preventable if you can stop teaching them, whether it's subconsciously, subliminally, through lots of different ways that it's done, through movies, TV, and media, and teaching, and the things you teach, the things you don't teach, the way you teach, and etc. The things you say and the things you don't say, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it made me feel sad when he was going through his whole life at different stages of his life and explaining all these events that he'd had to go through, that he'd had experience in his one, because this is our one life experience, our one existence. And then there was another one I was watching about social online abuse, and different people, different sexualities, how they've experienced abuse, and how they haven't been treated the same, just merely because of they want to be different, or their different sexual orientation is different from what they would consider the mainstream. And it just, I don't know, it's just so unfathomable for me to think that humans can still, in this day and age, be that small-minded, that not open to the very fact that the hurt that's caused by when someone's racist, or when someone says something that's hurtful, like with all the trolls. What is it that causes this kind of behaviour? Why don't humans get along? But maybe I'm, because of all this pursuit of truth, I'm always talking about the system and us all living together and humanity working, without division and working for the benefit of humanity. Maybe I'm thinking of something that's actually impossible. Maybe it's impossible because how far we've come away from that kind of aspect. Although in my lifetime, it feels like we are getting closer to it, because of woke and all that truth and all these debates that are taking place now, and all the acceptance of different people and mental health and all that kind of stuff that's coming up now, is maybe making people maybe more towards humanity. But the grand scheme of things, the little things, the major things, still haven't changed. It's just, I guess the system is saying, yes, you can be all these different things as long as you still have money and as long as you still want to work. And no one's ever going to address those issues. Maybe they are, we can't address them. Maybe we can never change those things. We're always going to have to live a life of unnecessary suffering, because, when most people on YouTube watching this are going to think, wow, what suffering are you talking about? Because they're probably mostly European or American. But the whole place that we found ourselves upon isn't like Western Europe or America. There's lots of places, huge countries, that are suffering. Their peoples are suffering. All peoples are suffering, in these days with cost of living and all this kind of stuff. Arbitrary prices put on things that we found here for free. I'll get into that in a minute. But the idea of like places in India and Africa and the Middle East and all these different places where their infrastructure isn't the same as the West. For what reason isn't it like that? When we, as human beings, we know how to make infrastructure good. We know how to make hospitals. And we know how to make medicines and all these kinds of things. We could do all this stuff for each other. We could teach each other how to do this thing. We could not have money attached to it so that it restricts us. Not have to do jobs that are unnecessary, like making thousands of different cars or TVs or washing machines or washing powder or etc. Making the best things, the best houses, rather than making one house that's more expensive than the other and making less in it, or the TVs or the phones that every year they know they've made the best phone and then they downgrade it and then they release it every year till they get to that better phone. And carry on releasing every year unnecessary things when they could have made perfection in the first place. That's what humanity should strive for. We don't strive for perfection. We need to strive for perfection as human beings, because it's not unattainable. It's very attainable, because we have the power. We have nothing to shackle ourselves but ourselves and our stupid system and previous peoples hundreds of years ago that we still, with these inclusion things and arguments and debates and presentations that everyone's having, and in a more open society now, we see that those people that taught all these things, the anti-things, are now, they're also the same people that came up with banks and came up with money and came up with politics and came up with the system that we live within. So if we understand that they would be racist now, if they spoke now, as we go back in the past and we see the things that they've said and their writings and etc., because of their mindset back then what makes you think that the other things that they've created are any better or adaptable? Some things are adaptable, like say multimedia. You could adapt it. You can, it depends on the voice that's heard in there. It's not actually the mechanics of it. But some things, like money, it has no time and place in this day and age, and wasting our energy when people are dying. This is the truth. Americans and Europeans may not get this. The majority of them, obviously, it depends who's watching it, but there are people dying of unnecessary things every day. Even when it comes to the West, of heart disease and cancers and things that are caused by, carcinogenics that we already know about, that are unhealthy eating, because we want to make money. Let's give them all this sugar. Let's put all these chemicals in that are unnecessary because it makes it look this the way or the other, or taste this way or the other. But because we're not doing things for the betterment of human beings, we're not seeking that perfection. We're getting, we're just following what has gone before and just enhancing that and improving upon it. But that car that was built 1,000 years ago, it shouldn't still be going now. We should demolish it and start again. I'm talking about the system, a car as a system analogy. I can't remember what that point that I wanted to come back to now, but freedom. Everything that we found on this place that we found ourselves upon is free. Oil, gas, everything that's built, all the TVs, all the electronics, trees, air, every single thing is here. I can't go back to Adam and Eve, but if that is the truth. But if you think as a baby you woke up and say there was no one else around, and you woke up on this planet, I know that's not how it is now, but just to give this idea of that, you woke up on this planet, everyone else was destroyed, you were the last person, you woke up, maybe a few of you, so that it doesn't end of the humanity, and then you see everything is all there. You didn't have to do anything, and obviously if we take you back thousands of years, all the materials that are needed to make the pyramids, that are needed to make Westminster, that are needed to make houses, that are needed to make TVs, fridges, that are all the food you eat. Every single thing that is around you was found here. Yes, different human beings have had to merge things and create things out of those things, but they didn't create the what we call the earth. Everything was free. But then we decided, no, it's not free. I want to own that. I want to put a price tag on that. And of course, that caveman, what I call caveman mentality, the old ways, is what we're still holding on to now. But why? Because it's not the actual truth. The truth is gas, oil, water, electricity, air, everything, every single thing around you, even your own life, was given freely. And so why should you then put prices on it? Why should you try and possess it when you can't actually possess it because everyone lives and dies? Anyway, I wanted to make this video to show support for the different things that I'd seen on these presentations, to be a part of it, because I want human beings to live together freely, enjoying their one existence with each other. And it doesn't matter what colour you are, it doesn't matter your sexuality, it doesn't matter any of these things, all these things. We could all live together. We could all live a great existence. We could all have a house, healthcare, things to do, all of these things that are within our grasp, because we are the masters of our own place. Even if you believe in God, God has given us free will. But we've decided to follow these people before who believed in possession and power and money. Why are you still believing in those things? That's what you need to ask yourself. And then you need to ask anyone who's next to you, why are you also believing in those things that are shackling us, that are causing people to live a miserable life, that are causing people to die early, that are wasting the energy, the one existence you have, when we could have strived and done so much more if we'd stopped wasting our time in these unnecessary things. We could have found cures for things. We could have been out in space by now if there is such a thing. We could have done so much more and all lived happily for millennia. Well, it's not too late because we're still here. But first, humans need to acknowledge this issue, and then we need to find a way to change it. Because it is possible, but only if those people in power, or all of us, come to that sense. Take care, take it easy, bless, and peace.